Welcome to the Why Did I Get Cancer podcast. I'm Deborah Herlax-Enos, a small-town girl turned TV nutritionist and healthy living expert. I design health programs for the average guy or gal, including those average guys named Metallica. On September 1st, 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I asked every oncologist the same question, why did I get cancer? But none of my doctors had good answers for me. I wanted answers, and that's why I started this podcast. I want to help you to lower your cancer risk and provide self-care tips for those in the battle. I'm getting answers, and I want to share them with you. Welcome to part 2 of my interview with the clean clothing chick, Hannah Denning. Okay, so I told you there were some big takeaways with this episode. Couple of things. First of all, there is a frequency to clothing. I had never really considered that, but she said, if you think about back in the day, hospital linens, that was the bedding. Linens have a frequency and it can be very healing. All right, listen, I know this is a crunchy topic, but I've read the data and this is legitimate information. She also said that linen it's antimicrobial and antiviral. So this is why wounds were dressed in linen. So that was one of my big takeaways. And we also talked about how there's nobody paying attention to this in our government. And what she was telling me is that there's no government agency that's in charge of making sure that our clothing is chemical free. And this is why she calls this non-toxic clothing space literally the wild, wild west. So join us on part 2, where we talk about inexpensive ways to redo your closet. I also talk about the changes that I've made because it's going to be expensive to change out my whole closet. A couple things that I did change out: my bedding and my workout gear to non-toxic versions, because that's where I spend the most time. Honestly, I'm supposed to be sleeping. We're also supposed to be sleeping a third of our life. So that seemed like a really logical first step for me. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Hannah is full of healthy hacks and you're going to get a lot out of it. Okay, so how do we get started? Where's a good place to jump in, Hannah?
Well, first of all, there's something free that literally every single one of us can do, and that's talk about it and scream from the rooftops about the fact that this is not okay. Yeah. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And you have to have regulation. You have to have something. It's not okay. And I'm not a believer that regulation fixes everything at all. Like, I'll be the first.
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day long about the FDA and all of the things. But at the end of the day, not even having regulation is basically assuming that it's not needed.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Unacceptable. I mean, I'm not a fan of big government, but I'm shocked that there is nobody minding the store, and the store being what we all wear literally 24 hours a day and put it on our children.
Absolutely.
How is nobody paying any lick of attention to this?
And we have states like California. Some states are putting, I think Minnesota has a general version of this where they're putting some sort of regulation in, and we are seeing businesses starting to try to pivot, but the fact of the matter is it's not doing what we need to be done, which is like sweeping reform and regulation, drawing a line in the sand essentially and saying this is unacceptable. Right. France just did it, by the way.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Wow.
So we can talk.
Yeah. What's that look like?
For them, they're basically like, there's absolutely no PFAS allowed in any clothing manufacturing. If you do, you will be fined out the wazoo. Like, they really just got serious about it, and it's quite cool. I'm typically not a fan, of the political moves France makes. I really am not. I just am not. And by the way, I'm like pretty in the middle on everything, and I'm really not a fan of what France usually does. But this has been epic. And I think so many countries could learn from them and what they just did. If you're curious about this topic, look into what kind of regulations France just put in place. It's awesome.
Okay.
And frankly, I think it's a really cool formula for other countries to move forward with. It's not perfect. It doesn't cover all things in clothes, but it's kind of a cool place to start.
Well, also, I'll just say too, when you think about Paris and high fashion, so it sounds like that means that we can still be very fashionable without PFAS in our clothes poisoning us.
It's a good start. We could talk about also high fashion and haute couture all day long because I have lots of thoughts on that too. And there's a lot of just incredible history. But yes, it's a good start. But for the average person today listening, especially if you have chronic disease or you're struggling with inflammation or you're just wanting to feel better, the number one thing you can do is talk about it. Of course, that's free. We can all do it. Number two thing is if you're a woman, I'm telling you, you need a clean bra and underwear. For men, it's underwear, obviously. Yeah. But for women, how sensitive we are, that's exactly where I start. It's your bra.
Okay.
And I wish I could give you a whole bunch of awesome recommendations for like a great functional bra, but I can't because it doesn't, in my opinion, really exist today. I've yet to find one. Although there are lots of amazing bralettes on the market. You can go find an organic cotton bralette. It might have a small percentage of plastic. I would aim for like 5% or less, ideally no plastic, but I understand that that's sort of like very hard to find today. But just focus on little things that are better switches. That's a way better place to start.
Yeah, that's a little easier to get your mind and your pocketbook around. Small changes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is this. Arguably the most toxic piece of clothing we have found so far has been sports bras. Has to do with a whole bunch of different things. Like they're putting in things to make it water resistant for sweat. Women need a lot of support, so they put in a lot of stretch, right? All the things we're talking about, it's kind of the perfect concoction. I think Mamavation did a study and found, don't quote me on the exact percentage, but I think it was like 40% of these bras had BPA and phthalates in them.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a huge number, by the way, for such toxic chemicals. But my point here, what I tell women is, especially if you have larger breasts, I can't be like, here's a better alternative that really works. Yeah. I haven't found one yet.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is it's important enough to wear like a cotton bralette underneath your sports bra when you work out. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, but it's something.
It's a barrier.
It's something to do in the interim.
Yeah, it's a barrier between that plastic and your skin.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I would stress. And then here's a kind of a hack that I did when I transitioned my closet. First and foremost, I think a big misconception is it's so expensive to dress clean. And it actually is, because obviously you're going to spend more on an organic cotton shirt than you are on some cheap piece of plastic from China.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not contesting that. Let me tell you what, when I made this transition, I have never spent less money in my life on shopping. One, because it's almost impossible to find clothes that won't contribute to making you sick.
Yeah.
And then two, because I'm now so much more conscious of who I give my dollar to.
Yes.
I don't even want to go shop on Amazon anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't. I went to Target. I used to love Target. I used to be the mom who would my husband would be off work on a Saturday. I'd wake up and get my coffee and just go to Target to peruse. No way. I go there now and it's like existential dread. I'm like,
existential dread. I love it.
Like, this place sucks. And I have not spent a single dollar on clothing from Target in years.
Okay.
So it really is quite freeing in that sense of like that addiction to shopping for new clothes is, for me and for a lot of the people I talk to, pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, this is kind of controversial. I get a lot of heat online for this statement. But when I transitioned, I took all of my synthetic clothes and I sold them on thrifting apps. And I made money and bought great clothes with that money.
Yeah.
That's how I afforded to make the switch. And by the way, I thrift almost everything.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And I live on an island. So if I can thrift and have what I think is a pretty cute wardrobe, a capsule wardrobe, anyone can do it. There's apps. That's what I use, like Mercari and Poshmark.
Okay.
And you can search fabrics. That would be my big tip, is hop on and search organic cotton.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Flax linen. Yeah. And you'll be surprised with what you find for like 1/100th of a cost sometimes. No joke.
Okay. And I'm going to tag all of these in the show notes. And I'll also say, as I've started to change out what I sleep in, I don't care if I sleep in a ratty t-shirt, it's fine. So I go to thrift stores, vintage stores, wherever I go, and I find 100% cotton band t-shirts from the 70s, and they're so
Hmm.
stinking cute. I get compliments on them all the time, and they're also, fine to sleep in because they're 100% cotton. Now they're not organic because in the 70s I don't think we really thought about things like that. But the way I look at it is at least it's cotton and it's better than some of the synthetic crap I've been buying.
Yeah, absolutely. And the studies show that thrifted pieces of clothing are so much better. To be clear, natural fibers.
Natural fibers.
Thrifted plastic is even worse because it's degrading
Oh, that's a good
over
point.
time.
Okay.
It's easily breaking down. It's been exposed to sun and all kinds of stuff. So I just don't recommend plastic at all. So
Yeah.
let's leave it there.
Yeah. Okay.
But thrifted clothing is amazing because it's been washed so many times that you do get anything you can get out. It's not perfect to your point, but it's way better.
Yeah.
And focusing on vintage is epic too. We used to do really cool stuff with clothing. Like, for example, our jeans. I mean, most of us even remember still how jeans used to be dyed with indigo, like real indigo. That
Right.
was the status quo. And if you can find
Interesting.
real indigo dyed jeans, I mean,
Wow.
and what a find.
What a
And
find.
just by the way, a little hope to this conversation is all these things are becoming trendy
Yes.
again.
Yes.
Like, this is becoming trendy. That is so good.
It's
That is so
so good.
good.
And it makes my heart happy because I love where we are in this conversation as a country. A lot of people still haven't heard about it, but we're talking about it. But we're taking the approach of let's thrift, let's do this, let's do that, and quit buying the cheap plastic stuff from China. We just
Yeah.
we don't need it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on China. There's 1,000 different ways we could take this conversation because it's so interesting. The history behind all of this is actually fascinating. There's so many deep, dark twists and stories and turns. I could talk to you all day about this, but the China thing is absolutely wild. And you know, it's not just China. I'm not like anti-China, but China has done some really especially dark things when it comes to our clothing specifically.
Can you share anything?
Yeah, like the biggest thing for me personally is the fact that there is a current genocide going on in China of the Uyghur people
Hmm.
who are Chinese born Muslims that they literally rounded up and put in concentration style camps and had them collect cotton. And so the United States put a ban because it got so bad on this specific region of China
Hmm.
to try to mitigate our support of literal sweatshops and camps and
Yep.
terrible, terrible, a genocide. And instead of changing their ways, China just moved these people around so that we can't track it anymore. I mean, that I get called a xenophobe probably every day online for my disdain for China and what the Chinese government does and has done. But really, my argument is just the Uyghur people even to start. Like, isn't that enough? Shouldn't that be enough?
Yeah, that should be enough.
There's lots more,
Yeah.
but that's the thing that I'm like, it makes me sick.
It makes me sick too. Yeah, you're right. And now we can't even find these. Yeah.
Right. But let
Uh,
me also just end it on a
yeah.
hopeful note on that topic as well, which is we're right now working on a especially organic cotton revival in the United States,
Hmm. So
which is,
small farms.
yeah, we happen to make the United States as the headquarters of organic cotton. Texas specifically, we have incredible farmers in Texas
Okay.
who make a ton of USDA certified organic cotton, which is way better than
Oh,
GOTS, just by the way.
amen. I love that. And I love that it's US based. Let's keep giving people jobs here.
Absolutely.
S-
More to come.
Yeah. I hate to say it, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, but summer is wrapping up, and I have had the best time. I haven't done a lot of self care on my face this summer, and so I'm feeling it. My skin is really dry. When I wash my face, it just feels just kind of dull and kind of flaky. So I've started to add a couple of items back in my body facial care rotation that I haven't done in a while. One of them is the Blueberry Fusion Micro Scrub. This is such a great product. It's from the Body Deli. Forget about using this, but it's got lactic acid, it's got diatomaceous earth, citric acid. And when I put this on, you use it 2 to 3 days a week. I'll put it on in the shower and I'll just kind of give my face a little bit of a massage. And I'll tell you, my skin is a little tingly after, which I think is a good thing. It's a good thing for my skin right now. And then I'll finish by putting this vitamin C serum on, which I feel like once I've kind of ripped off, maybe that's too aggressive. Once I've kind of polished my skin a little bit, I feel like the serum just goes in a little bit better. And then I finalize it with the Phoenix Lift Oil, which just makes my skin feel so good. So if you want to see what I'm using from the Body Deli, I tell you, they are OG when it comes to non-toxic ingredients. I have been using their products for 18 years, but I've got all the information listed below, and I know you're going to enjoy these products. Use the code ENOS15 to get 15% off of your purchase. Enjoy. So, Hannah, you said in the 40s, that's when plastic was introduced. So how was it introduced?
How deep do you want me to go here?
Shock me, Hannah. Just shock me.
So let's talk about DuPont, because we were talking about this offline or off air about that crazy story. And it is a really, really crazy story.
Yeah.
So DuPont, a lot of people are familiar with the name DuPont
because
we've seen movies or read books about them. They're still very much alive and well and continuing to poison us as a country and as a world. So shout out to DuPont. But so we have like the movie Dark Waters. Mark Ruffalo directed that and acted in it. It's a fascinating movie about just one part of the evil that they have done. But the fascinating part about how plastic was introduced to the general public in clothing happens to be about a man named Wallace Carruthers. And he was a genius scientist. And in the 1800s, DuPont was just a gunpowder manufacturing company. It was started by a French chemist. And he came over to the United States because he knew it was a great economic opportunity. They started manufacturing gunpowder, and they became the United States' #1 defense contractor. They supplied literally all of the gunpowder for the U.S. in several wars spanning over like 100 years or something.
Okay.
Until and I'm forgetting now of the act that was passed, but it was focused on monopolization.
Right. Yeah. I forget the
and
name
so,
of it.
Yeah, I'm missing it. But the point was they broke up DuPont the government broke DuPont up because it was too much of a monopoly.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a huge hit to DuPont monetarily. So they had to kind of double down and figure out, okay, well, what are we going to transition into? They went into the medical trade, which has a lot to do with opiates. And we can talk about that another time. That's a whole nother crazy story. But then at the same time, they also doubled down to find sort of like the next best invention when it came to chemistry. And so some stuff had been going on in Europe where somebody had turned bamboo into like a stretchier fabric. So they kind of had some thoughts and ideas on what they wanted to do. And they ended up hiring, like I said, Wallace Carruthers, who essentially ended up inventing nylon. Now, he was a purist. He was a true chemist who just wanted to study science and how it worked and how we interacted with science. And he never wanted it to be monetized, but he made the fatal mistake of working for a money-hungry, greedy company called DuPont.
Yeah.
And they essentially ran like a chemistry sweatshop. Like they would have crazy hours and crazy expectations. And these scientists weren't allowed to do anything unless it made money. So it kind of drove this man mad. And he ended up discovering nylon in 1935, which was transformative for our world, obviously. It was the first time humans had ever made a fully synthetic fiber. That's insane. I mean, up until like from the dawn of time, we'd had natural fibers, of course, until 1935 when he discovered a plastic one. And the really interesting part about this story is he hated it. And on social media, making this post, I couldn't help but continue to draw just lines between the story of Frankenstein and what he had created. He just created this monster that he hated. And he had told his colleagues several times, I regret what I've done. If I could turn back time, I would go back. I think we've created a monstrosity. Yeah, he was like, we've completely abandoned nature now that we're trying to replace it. And
Wow.
there's no way this man knew exactly, because we're just discovering what
Sure.
plastic is doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
he didn't really know, but in his gut, he knew that it was an abomination of nature.
That's that he knew the ramifications.
He
He
knew.
was so visionary. He knew the
Mhm.
potential. Yeah.
And exactly. And DuPont has a history, as a lot of us know, of not testing things fully and then hiding what they did find and what
Hmm.
have you. And that was the same with nylon, especially when it comes to environmental factors. We have proof that they knew it was awful, but obviously they didn't care because they were going to make billions, which they did. But right
Wow.
before they introduced nylon to the general public, he checked into a hotel in Philadelphia and mixed a glass of cyanide and lemon juice and
Oh,
took his own life because he didn't want to live anymore with his creation.
oh my
Awful.
gosh. Horrible.
So that's the nylon was the first plastic introduced to the public in the form of fashion, which was of course the nylon stockings. And what's really interesting is you can look at pictures of fashion in 1938
Hmm.
and you won't see like any nylon stockings, and then you look at 1940 and every single woman is wearing them.
Right. So it's like that was the Lululemon of their time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a really good parallel to draw as well. So that was the introduction of plastic. It gets a whole lot darker and weirder, and I could tell you a million different stories, but I find that particular one really fascinating because it
Hmm.
really encapsulates the human experience and this one man really understanding what it
Sure.
means to
Right.
deviate so greatly
From
from
nature.
nature, which is what we are a part of.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And he actually took his own life. And that
Yeah.
is just so tragic. And so we're still running from plastic. We're running from nylon. At least a portion of us are. It sounds like there's
Yeah.
some ways we can do this, starting with our bras and underwear. How do we protect our kids?
Great question. I There's a few kids brands that I really love, and I would encourage everyone when they go on this journey
Hmm.
to really get to know the business that they're buying from. And I mean that exactly how it sounds. Message them,
Hmm.
get to know the owner. What's their story? Because frankly, there's so many chemicals and different things to put on clothing. You really want to know that the company you're buying from is doing their best for the right reasons.
Okay.
That's probably the greatest safeguard you can have is I know that this person is really on a journey and a mission to do the right thing. And so I know that that is safer than a company who's just trying to sell organic cotton because it's trendy. Who knows what
Yeah.
else they're putting on their stuff? Who
Right.
knows I find that it is better to just be really comfortable with a few brands who you've asked really hard questions to and who have responded with the right answers.
Hmm.
And thanks to social media, we can all do that. And it does
Yeah.
take time.
It does
It
take
does,
time.
as it
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
As it should.
Yeah.
Shopping was never meant, we should never, that's why we're in the problem or in the situation we're in, is we buy too much too fast. So slow it down,
We
ask the
do.
questions. And then, so besides that, finding a couple brands that I really love and trust, I love thrifting. I
Hmm.
love hand-me-downs.
Hmm.
My sons are 3 and 4. My older one's almost 5, and he is starting to have a sense of fashion or style himself, right? He's at the age where he like wants to dress himself.
Sure.
And he has a couple like soccer jerseys that had been gifted to him from his granddad. And they're just 100% polyester, the
Hmm.
worst of the worst. But they have sentimental value. And so I'm not saying no, you can't wear that. I'm just not buying them,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be militant or like, but we have conversations. I don't think kids are ever too young to just have really open dialogue with on why we do certain things and doing your best. But again, highly recommend finding a couple brands you love, and then highly recommend thrifting and hand-me-downs as well.
Okay. Yeah, I love those. And I find that, I spend so much less money at a thrift store. And
Yeah,
there always end up being items where people say, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that?" Well, here's where I got it, but there was one. And so
it's
you
cool.
know that
It's
nobody else is
trendy.
going to be wearing it.
Yes, and it also stimulates this part of our brain that's really primal. It's like the foraging aspect,
Yeah,
and
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have a moral hangover is what I call it when you're like shopping on Amazon. The next day or 2 days later you get the packages and it doesn't feel good. Like maybe for a second you're like, oh cool, but then right after you're like, oh, that doesn't feel
Right, because you get that,
good. Thrifting's opposite,
right, you get this huge dopamine hit because you just
right?
spent, $200 and got what, 10 items, but they're just cheap and crappy. And yeah, you're right. It's what did you call it? A moral hangover?
I call it a moral
I
hangover.
love
I just
that.
haven't found any better term for it. It's really how it
Yeah,
feels.
it is. And I will say, so our kids are 29 and 31, and they are both saying now, we're not consuming. We're not over consuming. We're thinking about what we're buying. And I think good for you. Because my
Hmm.
generation is, wow, you had a rough day, you need a new blazer. You had a great day, you need a new t-shirt. Like, you consumed as a way to celebrate or commiserate. And
Right. Ugh, so
I
true.
think our upcoming generations are not as tied to that, which
I
is
have hope.
fantastic. I have hope too. So, want to end with this. What are your top 3 fabrics?
Ooh, top three fabrics. Well, I love organic cotton and I love the history behind it.
Hmm.
So organic cotton for me is number one. Not to be confused with regular cotton. Regular cotton's pretty gnarly in a
Okay.
lot of ways. We can talk about that another time, but it's pretty dirty with what they spray.
Okay.
Number two, linen. Can't beat linen. You really can't. Flax linen, real deal linen, incredible. And history points to that.
Okay.
Number three, God, that's a toss up because I really love hemp. I think that hemp is one of the fabrics of the future. There's just so many incredible things you can do with it.
Mm.
And it's very regenerative, doesn't cost a lot of money, doesn't need to be sprayed much. Like, I really love it. But also, wool is incredible itself as well,
What
as
is?
long as it's not wool.
Wool. Yes. Yeah.
Wool,
Wool.
merino wool
Hmm.
is great for any climate. So it's probably a toss up between non-superwashed wool,
Okay.
because superwashing is a chemical treatment. So anytime you're buying wool, you should ask them, hey, do you superwash or use any harsh
Oh,
chemicals?
okay. Good point.
But that's tied with hemp too.
Hemp.
Two-way
I don't
tie.
see a lot of hemp these days, but it sounds like
No,
that
you
might be
will.
coming. Okay. Good.
Yes, you will. It's
Good.
it's not because marijuana and hemp have both been so taboo for so long that I think
True.
people have kind of categorized it as more of like a hippie fringe thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of has bad PR. But I think that it's people are kind of starting to break out of that narrative, and
Hmm.
you're starting to see some really cool brands. One that I'm really curious and interested in is called Jung Maven.
Okay.
Kind of a funky name, Jung Maven, but they're made in the United States, which is rad, and they use hemp and
Okay.
a lot of organic cotton.
Love that. Okay. I'll tag that in the show notes. One thing, a question. I didn't hear you mention bamboo.
I don't like bamboo.
Why? Do
I don't like
tell.
bamboo. It's so trendy. You see all these, like, there's a huge trend with like moms with like bamboo baby pajamas
Mm,
because it's so stretchy and in theory
soft. Yeah.
it's such a great soft alternative to plastic. It really is. There's a whole book on this. It's called Fake Silk.
Mm.
And it's about how carbon disulfide is used to break bamboo down in like 90% of all bamboo clothing products.
Okay.
Carbon disulfide itself is wild. It drives the people who work with it historically, clinically insane to the point where it's even been traced to like murders and stuff. I mean, it's really crazy for real. It is a wild
So it's
story.
the
Um,
processing of bamboo to become the
right.
fabric that we see that is so harsh. Okay.
Right, exactly. And there are ways to process it that are not harmful. Like you can use organic enzymes.
Hmm.
And so if you see organic cotton, or I'm sorry, organic bamboo, great. That's
Okay.
great. But any bamboo product, always message them and ask specifically, are you using carbon disulfide in your process?
Hmm.
And if they say yes, it's a no-go.
Okay.
They'll probably follow up with, but we batch test our clothes, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. No,
Okay.
like, there's no reason to use carbon disulfide if you really cared about your mission and making clean clothes for body and environment. You would not touch that with a 10-foot pole or like a 100-foot pole.
Okay. Love that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Hannah, you are a gift. And I just
Oh,
want to
that's so
thank you
kind.
so much for being on my podcast. I'm tiptoeing into the waters of cleaner fabrics. And now I feel like I've got a game plan because it's overwhelming.
Amazing.
Let's just admit it can be overwhelming. So starting with your bra and your bedtime clothes and sheets, it sounds like is the best, and exercise clothing. So pick one, but it sounds like in your opinion, bra is the best place to start.
Yeah, let's start with the bra, and just a quick plug for us too, because this is like a huge piece of our story, my story, what I feel like I can hopefully give to the world, like legacy, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
We have decided to launch a completely clean, functional, everyday bra.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. It kind of was born out of frustration because, I mean, it's no secret. I'll be the first to say switch out your bra. And that is not like a PR move.
Mm-hmm.
That is just purely like what I'm most passionate about. We lost my grandmother who raised me or helped raise me to estrogen sensitive breast cancer in 2011. And so ever since, and I grew up in the same home as her while she was fighting breast cancer over 2 rounds. She had it twice. And so our family was really shaped around that experience because, you know, we talk a lot about cancer, but we oftentimes don't talk about how it impacts the family too, especially children.
Yeah.
And so I have a really interesting perspective as a child from a cancer household.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really shaped how I see everything, especially when it comes to bras and breast cancer.
Yeah.
And as I went on this journey myself and started looking for a bra that I could wear in a board meeting or, you know, I cannot wear bralettes all the time. I just can't.
Right.
Most of us need more support.
Right.
It needs to be fashionable and functional. And I just couldn't find one. All of them had like polyester cups or just some aspect of it that I was like, why? Like, that's just so unnecessary. And it got so frustrating that finally I was just like, I'm just going to make it myself.
Yeah.
So I have an incredible team behind me, and we've found a way to do it 100% in the United States of America, from cotton all the way to the finished product.
Wow. When can I buy one?
Pre-sales, we're hoping will be August, September, and then like real bra in hand October.
Okay. I can't wait. You made a good point. You know, I wear bralettes or the shelf bra tank tops. I've got an organic cotton brand. I wear them all the time. But if I'm going to go to an event or I'm going to, you know, like you said, a board meeting, any kind of meeting, I need more than that. And then I have to pull out my old synthetic bras, and the whole time I'm putting it on, I'm just like, oh,
it feels so gross.
I'm sorry, boobies. I'm sorry, boobies. I'm doing this to you.
I know.
Yeah.
I know the feeling so incredibly well.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time we have better options. And I'm hoping that this bra will help kind of push the market in that direction too. I would love other people to start making clean bras. It needs to be more accessible.
It does.
That's our goal. That's our mission. It's really high quality. I'm really excited and hoping to make a difference, because also, side note, I want young women to want to be able to wear that bra too. Right. No 13, 14, 15-year-old wants to wear a cotton bralette right now. No. So I want this to be something where women are actually wanting to wear it.
Right. And they really understand that it's a healthy version, but it's also functional and it's pretty. Like we still want pretty, and we're just not getting that.
Totally.
Yeah. Well,
so that's my shameless plug.
Well, it's not shameless because you're also turning an incredibly painful season for your family into real purpose and helping other women. So thank you for doing that. It's no easy task. It takes a lot of courage.
Well, thanks, Deborah. And thank you for allowing me to speak about it. We really love what you're doing too, and really excited to go on this journey with you. If you have any questions or you need recommendations, message me.
Oh, I sure, we will. Oh, thanks, Hannah, for being on the podcast. Did you know that I have a newsletter? I have been writing this newsletter, honestly, for probably 20 plus years. It's always been my intention that you can read my newsletter in about a minute or less, which is perfect for the world we live in. So if you'd like to get cutting edge information, some hear about some of my favorite new products, go to today's show notes and you can click the link to sign up for my newsletter. I release it every Thursday. I try to make it kind of fun and kind of goofy, and I try to make you laugh. So hope you enjoy it. Go sign up. Tell a friend. Hey, y'all, can you do me a favor today and go and leave a review of this podcast? I know that the more great reviews, wink, wink, emphasis on great reviews that I get, along with more downloads and more subscribers, that pushes this podcast out to people who might normally not even find it. And the reason I started this podcast and my real heart for starting this podcast is that I needed this information. It wasn't available. And so I started a podcast so that I could be a blessing to others. So you're a blessing to me just by being here. And again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your positive reviews and all of the notes that you send me. And also just wanted to say, hey, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. And if you need medical advice, please reach out to your team. That is going to be just the best source for you because they know you. So again, I hope you enjoy this podcast.